All right, welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Talks. We're here with the Amp1 team, of course, and today we are going to jump in and we are going to talk sneakers. So I'm going to jump this first one over to Jovi. Jovi, what is your most memorable sneaker and why?
Sure. Um, so I have two in my mind right now. My first one would be the Kyries, the Easter editions. These bring back very precious memories for me. Um, Definitely, first being that these were the shoes that we wore when we played in Kentucky at the preseason NBA halftime show, where we played against former Kentucky alumni and got to actually kind of be in the locker room right next to NBA players. I think that was something that um, we'll all remember for the rest of our lives. And this was a shoe that kind of brings me back there. I got Darren Collison to sign it too, so that's an extra little memento. And then this is the All Star? No, the Christmas edition KDs. What was this? The KDs threes. Yeah.
Looks
And
like
these were my senior night shoe. I remember these for many reasons. A being they were like one of my favorite shoes I ever had. Most comfortable, light. I love the yellow, and then also because this was one of the first games my grandma came to watch me play, and it was the last night that I got to play with my teammates. So those are my two favorites. I guess I'll swing it back to you, Rich. Um,
cool. No, that's awesome. It's super cool to relive that Kentucky memory because that was a fun day. Definitely something cool, something hopefully we get to do again. Um, so I'm gonna take this one over to my man K Dub, who again started playing basketball when he was in high school, which is wild. Um, so over to Galoa.
Um, I'll be quick, but I'm not really a shoe guy or a clothes guy or a fashion guy or any of that. So I don't know the names of any of them. I think I own like maybe three pairs of shoes. Um, the only one that I even remember, frankly, is the one that we got at the Jordan thing, Richard. I don't even know what shoe was called. I know it was Air Jordan. That's about it.
Sure.
That's, it was just because
Yeah,
it's the first time with Amp1, got like a shoe. First time like or like gifted a shoe for doing some kind of sport thing. That was memorable for me.
yeah. So that event was for the Jordan Rise Above campaign, and that was the first time Galoa and I actually tried out for the team. We were able to go to Texas and partake in this Jordan commercial, hashtag Rise Above Limits, and at the end of it, we were all gifted a pair of Jordan team shoes. And I also don't remember what they were called, K-Dub, but I do remember that day, and it was the Jordan Court something. But anyway, we'll have to bring those out at some point. So going from K-Dub over to my man Troy, favorite shoe or most memorable shoe and why?
Oh man, so definitely wish I had them with me. I do not. This was obviously when I first started playing basketball, about eighth grade year. Um, the T Max, Tracy McGrady, my favorite player when I started watching hoops. One of my favorite memories is I was a witness of his infamous 13 points in 35 seconds. And I remember just saying, I need a pair of T Max. I need a pair of T Max. So I got them for my birthday, and shortly after, or later on that year in the wintertime, is when I, played in my first, A or not AAU, but organized basketball team for the YMCA. And yeah, you get a pair of shoes from your favorite athlete. You want to shoot like them, you want to do other moves and combos, and yeah, I remember at that time it was like, who's better, T Mac or Kobe? And I was T Mac all the way. And yeah, the first colorways I had was the all whites and blues, the blue stripes along the sides. Um, and then I would say my second favorite pair of shoes in high school. Obviously, I didn't play on the basketball team, but being a team manager, I got to, get some gear. And we had the green and white Adidas Pro models. So a lot of my favorite shoes have been Adidas, at least my memorable ones. But the Pro models, those are legendary. Those are really cool to play in, even just wear casually. Some sweatpants and a hoodie. You just kind of felt authentic. And yeah, those are my two most memorable shoes to kind of kick off my basketball journey.
It's funny you mentioned the pro model. I would say if you were born sometime between 1985 and 1995 and you played basketball growing up, you probably had a pair of pro models.
Rich, you wore a
Whether
pair
it
of
was
pro
the mids
models?
or the lows, you probably had them.
Rich, you wore a pair of pro models?
Pro models were my team shoe in 8th grade. The I guess it was more like 6th grade now that I think about it, maybe 7th, but yeah, the varsity team wore pro models and the younger team wanted to wear the same shoes as the varsity team, so pro models it was.
I'm gonna say every hooper had to have a pair of pro models.
Yeah, I mean, again,
At least one pair, at least
if
one.
you grew up and played basketball during that timeline or you were born within that timeline, you probably had a pair of pro models, whether you remembered or not.
100%.
So Troy, appreciate that. I do remember those
And
13
T-Mac.
points
Whew.
and
People forget
and
about
53
T-Mac. Come on,
seconds.
come on.
Troy, we'll have to talk about which T-Mac model is your favorite, the 1, 2, or 3. Um,
Yeah.
he wore the T-Mac 1, I believe, for those 13 points.
Yep, those are the
But
ones.
I would say that the 2s and the 3s probably became a bit more popular over time. But anyway, that's for another conversation. So from there, taking it over to our guy Nick Pryor.
Awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy this sneaker talk. I'm sure we're gonna do quite a few more of these ones. So I'll save one of my stories for another time. That go with my tacos back there in Jovan. I know what you're thinking too. But no, I think you know growing up, I didn't really get to have tons of nice things and um, shoes. I've always loved shoes. As you can see in my office, I got boxes stacked up. I got some underneath my desk. They're everywhere. But the first really memorable pair for me were the Nike Shox BB4s, the red and white ones. That's really the first expensive pair of basketball shoes I ever got to have. I was a sixth grader. Last week I talked about that elementary school team. Our colors were green and white. So at that time, it was really hard to find green and white sneakers. But yeah, me and my best friend Kyle, we both had, the red and white Shox to go with our green and white uniforms, looking like Christmas trees out there. Um, but no, I
Yeah.
mean the reason why we really liked those shoes. Vince Carter was my guy back then. It was all about Vinsanity at that point in time, and him winning the dunk contest, and the Shox were advertised, jump a little bit higher, and for a short fat kid like myself with one leg, I could use all the help I could get.
I
I
was
don't
just
think
gonna
they worked
say
all that.
that speaking of eras, those Shocks had everybody thinking you could jump at least 3-4 inches higher with those Shocks.
Boing, boing,
Yeah,
boing, boing.
Yo,
Oh
that
yeah.
it was if you had those on, you were jumping like VC.
Flash to the commercial.
straight, straight up.
Um,
but yeah, those shoes were actually a Christmas present, that was my whole Christmas that year, and that's what I got, and I love those, and I wore them until the springs came out of the shop. But no,
oh,
that's definitely one of my favorite pairs ever, and I mean they came out a couple years ago and are back out, and I've thought about getting a pair, but yeah, they might have just been in a box and like like a nice little plastic show box, never be worn again. But maybe Rich can find some for me.
Little
It's
display case and the trophy case.
that's cool. We got Christmas moose in the Shocks
Christmas
BB4.
moose.
Um, the Shocks BB4 started my shoe collection actually in 2001. It was the first shoe I owned that my foot didn't grow out of. So I still have my first pair of them 20 years ago. We'll have to relive the moment at some point, Moose. Um, so I know we're a team full of sneakerheads for sure. Um, and we got to go over to one more over here. Steve, what you got?
Oh man, so I definitely have thought about this, a lot. So I'm gonna kind of just go through this little timeline real quick. So definitely, I started playing basketball, I think fifth grade. That was my first on the park and rec team. And I had the Nike Air Maestros. And the player that I associate those shoes with is Damon Stoudemire, shorter guard. You know what I mean? Like myself. But those are my first basketball sneaker. You know what I mean? First team I played for. I was wearing those. Knowing what I know now, they were gems. So I wish I would have held on to them. Going on from there, my first basketball shoe in high school was the Amp1 Thai cheese, and those were yes, um, those were an actual unofficial team shoe. So all the guys had them in white and blue. Uh, Super cool shoe. We had team shoes my sophomore year in high school, and those were the Reebok Answer threes. Uh, so much cushion. I just remember those shoes having so much cushion, definitely. Um, from there, um, going into my junior year, I had the holy grail of shoes, and that was the Nike Air Jet Flight. And what I remember about those was that going into my junior year, all the underclassmen on varsity, we played the seniors that were leaving, and mind you, we had some good players go on to Chico, State, you know what I mean, Pepperdine, a couple different places, and man, I was just balling out of control, man. I just had I had such a good game, and it was like it wasn't official game, but we played against the seniors that were leaving, and man, I just remember having a good game and a whole um, good summer season that year, you know what I mean? And again, there was only like one other person in that I remember having those shoes. It was like people just totally dismissed them, but they were just awesome. Um, and you were just so close to the floor. That's what I remember about the jet flights, is that you were so close to the floor, but yet so much comfort and just super lightweight. It was like you didn't have any shoes on at all. Um, but definitely, I guess I would have to say the most memorable shoe that I have was while I playing with Amp1, and that was the introduction of the flyies, the soldiers,
Yeah,
and
the
and
so
and the
great.
yep, and these are a gem in my eyes, definitely. Just because adaptive athletic shoe, I'd never seen one. I still have not seen any at this point. But definitely these really stick out in my mind. And the first time I wore them was in a Cactus Classic. It was the tournament that we hold. So um, and still only tournament in the country. You know what I mean, for amputees. And yes, so I'd have to give it. This was the introduction right here. These are what started it. You know what I mean. So I give all praises to the team that worked on these shoes. Definitely, definitely.
Cool. Steve, you just took me down memory lane quite a bit. I guess this whole conversation has taken me down memory lane quite a bit. I gotta ask though, as someone who stands a mere, I don't know, like what, 5'5", 5'6",
On a
5'8",
good
I don't know.
day, it's like 5'10". It's
Okay. Okay, so Damon Stoudemire was about what, 5'11", 6 foot. I'm just curious why you looked up to Damon Stoudemire, not Scottie Pippen with the Maestro.
definitely well, I mean, I'm a short guy. I'm a little guard. You know what I mean. So players like him, you know what I'm saying, wearing it, it was like he was Mighty Mouse, man. He was bigger than anything, man. I just loved the way he played, man. I just loved it.
And he would have been in college at that time still,
I loved it.
right? Yeah, at U of A. Okay, awesome. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna finish this one out, and I'm actually n- gonna talk about a shoe that was given to me in 6th grade. It was 1996, and I was going to the YMCA to do an interview for maybe NBC. I think it was yeah, Channel 12 NBC, and my dad disappeared in the morning and went somewhere, and my mom and I are like, "Oh, where'd your dad go?" And I was like, I'm not sure. Well, my dad so happened to run an errand, and while he was out running an errand, he saw a pair of Nike Shake Indestruct
Mm,
and brought them home for me. These were the shoes Dennis Rodman wore in 1996. They laced up on the inside. They had a cover over the top with a huge swoosh on them. And he found a pair that was it was white and purple. It was still it was a great grade school pair. And that was the first time that I can remember that he brought me home a pair of sneakers. And at that point in my life, I already loved shoes. I already knew I wanted to make shoes, but not one of them was as special as that one. And it was because my dad brought them home for me. Fast forward a few weeks after that, one of my teammates and I were in a two-ball competition, and I wore these shoes, and we ended up winning the two-ball competition. I don't know, with like 73 points or something. We were, I don't know, 8 at the time. Maybe I just turned 9. And we had beaten like 60 other teams all the way up through high school in the two-ball competition. And so um it was pretty cool because at that point we got to do a two-ball event with players from the Phoenix Suns. And so at this YMCA, the Phoenix Suns were Steve Nash, his rookie season, Jason Kidd, who was on the Phoenix Suns at the same time with him, Danny Manning, and Wesley Person. And so my teammate got to play with Danny Manning, and I got to play with Wesley Person. But the cool thing is while my teammate and Danny Manning were out on the court, Wesley Person, Jay Kidd, and Steve Nash were all standing in a line, and they called me over because and they put me in the middle, and they put their arms around me, and Jason Kidd and I were both wearing the exact same shoes. So it was just this cool moment where I got to talk with Wesley Person, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash, all Nike people who were wearing and that Jay Kidd was wearing the same pair of shoes as I was. So um just a moment I'll never forget. I also won't forget that Wesley Person and I beat my teammate and Danny Manning by two points in the two-ball competition. So got to go out with two victories that day. So anyway, that's what I got. That's what I got as one of my first and most memorable pairs of shoes. So anyway, that will conclude our Tuesday talks. We'll try to get some more topics for us next week, and we'll keep going. Appreciate it.
yeah.